The price of petrol increase from Raman 1.62 to Raman 0.92 per litre causes the total of quantity demand of vehicle decrease from 10,000 units to 8,000 units per year. Calculate the cross-elasticity of demand between petrol and vehicle.
Well reasoned. 1.08 is the correct choice. The price of goods Z increases from Army 200 to Army 300. The quantity supplied increases from 100 units to 180 units. Find the value of price elasticity of supply for goods Z. Great thinking. 1.6 is the right choice. Based on the demand curve for good X, it can be determined that good X has. Good thinking. No substitutes is the right answer. A 3% increase in the price of tea causes a 6% increase in the demand for coffee. The cross-elasticity of demand for coffee with respect to the price of tea is dash. Good job. Your answer plus 2.0 works well here. Classification of goods into categories such as substitute goods, complementary goods, and no relationship goods can be identified based on the value of dash. Correct. Cross-elasticity of demand is the right answer. If a 1% decrease in the price of a pound of oranges results in a smaller percentage decrease in the quantity supplied, then well picked. Supply is inelastic is the correct answer. The mining boom created a shortage of labor in the hospitality industry in Wa. This made the supply of restaurant meals in Wa. You're right. Less elastic is the correct answer. The amount of some product that producers are willing and able to sell at a given price, all other factors being held constant. Strong choice. Supply is the right answer. If consumers' income increases by 10%, that cause demand for pizza to increase by 12%, then pizza can be considered as dash. Correct response. Normal goods is the most accurate answer.
Describe your demand for a product if you buy the same amount of it or just a small amount less after a large price increase.
Nice selection. Inelastic is the correct and valid answer.
If the demand for donuts increases by 15% due to the increase of consumers' income by 10%, the donuts could be dash goods.
Right choice. Luxury is the best answer. Suppose that elasticity of demand of socks is 0.7. If the price of socks is reduced by 10%, how will sales be affected? Clear logic. Your choice sales will grow by less than 10% is sound and 100% true. The value of income elasticity of demand will help the economist to estimate the types of goods below except dash. Well done. Substitute goods is the right choice. A change in the price of a good causes people to buy more or less of an item. This best describes the concept of. Nicely done. Change in quantity demanded is a solid answer. If the price doubles and the quantity supplied also doubles, the price elasticity of supply for the good is. Right again. 1 is a valid answer.
If the price elasticity of demand is greater than 1, how would you describe the demand for a product?
Smart move. Elastic is an accurate answer. When the percent change in price is greater than the percent change in quantity supplied, then supply is said to be. Great job. Inelastic is the accurate answer. Based on a survey, The income elasticity of demand for the iPad mini is 1.4. This shows that the iPad mini
Solid response is a luxury goods is a valid choice. A supply curve that is linear and parallel to the quantity axis has a value of elasticity that is dash. Bravo, infinity is the answer. If the price elasticity of supply is equal to 0, how would you describe the supply of a product? On track. Perfectly inelastic is the correct answer. If the price elasticity of supply for goods J is equal to 0.6, a large change in price will cause dash. Valid point. Small changes in quantity supplied is true. If the income elasticity of demand for a good is greater than 0 but less than 1, then the good is dash. Excellent. An economic necessity is a brilliant choice.
The cross-price elasticity of demand measures how the quantity demanded of a good is related to the
Smart pick. Price of another good is the correct choice. When cross-price elasticity of demand is negative, it indicates that the two goods are sharp thinking. Complements is the right choice. If the price of demand for a good is 1.8, the demand for the good can be described as dash. Excellent choice. Elastic is the right answer. A normal goods can be distinguished from an inferior goods because a normal good has dash. Perfect. A positive income elasticity of demand is the correct choice. If a price reduction leads to higher total revenue, this situation shows that demand is. Nice work. You chose elastic and it is correct. Water has seen an increase in demand 8% this summer, while the price has decreased 12%. You got it. Your choice, 67 in elastic, is right. The percentage change in quantity supplied divided by the percentage change in price. You chose price elasticity of supply, and it is correct. The value of elasticity of demand for a good will as the availability of substitutes. Exactly. Increase makes sense, and it is right choice. If the quantity supplied and the price change by the same percentage, then supply is. Well picked. Unit elastic is the correct answer. The elasticity of demand for tissues is 0.66. This means the demand for tissues is. Excellent. Inelastic is a brilliant choice. Prada has seen an increase in demand of 70%, while the price has decreased 35%. Nicely done. Too elastic is a solid answer. If the value of cross-elasticity of demand is negative, goods C and D are dash. Smart move. Pen and ink is an accurate answer. If storage of a good is cheap and readily available, supply is likely to be. Excellent choice. Relatively elastic is the right answer. Measure of the responsiveness of quantity demanded or quantity supplied. Right choice. Elasticity is the best answer. Area of economics that deals with behaviors and decision-making of units. On track. Microeconomics is the correct answer. For which type of price elasticity should the negative sign be omitted? A. Well done. Price elasticity of demand is the right choice.
The price elasticity of demand for essential medicines is likely to be. You chose inelastic, and it is correct. For inferior goods, income elasticity of demand will typically be dash. Smart pick. Negative is the correct choice. If the income elasticity of demand is greater than 1, the commodity is. Nice work. You chose a luxury and it is correct. Describes very little a change in demand with a large change in price. Great thinking. Inelastic is the right choice. The desire to have some good or service, and the ability to pay for it. Correct response. Demand is the most accurate answer. The amount that consumers spend on a product at a particular price. Strong choice. Total expenditures is the right answer. If the price elasticity of supply for a good is 10, then supply is.
Good thinking. Elastic is the right answer.
A supply curve that is a perfectly vertical line is indicative of. Bravo! Perfectly inelastic supply is the answer. The price elasticity of demand for the vertical demand curve is. Solid response. Perfectly inelastic is a valid choice. If the cross-price elasticity between two commodities is 1.5, well reasoned. The two goods are substitutes is the correct choice. If the supply curve of a product is vertical, PES is equal to. Sharp thinking. ZO is the right choice. What is the concept of elasticity primarily used to measure? Nice selection. Responsiveness or sensitivity is the correct and valid answer. If the income elasticity of good peas is 3, good peas is dash. Perfect. Inferior goods is the correct choice. When consumers have a need for a product that is urgent. Right again. The demand curve is inelastic is a valid answer. What does a perfectly vertical supply curve indicate? Good job. Your answer quantity supplied remains constant works well here. The desire, ability, and willingness to buy a product. Great job. Demand is the accurate answer. Price elasticity of supply is the responsiveness of. Valid point. Quantity supplied to a change in price is true. An increase in the number of consumers can cause. Exactly. The demand curve to shift right makes sense, and it is right choice. The price elasticity of demand indicates dash. You're right. Buyer responsiveness to price change is the correct answer. The desire to purchase goods and services? Clear logic. Your choice demand is sound and 100% true. Demand for agricultural products is dash. Correct. Inelastic is the right answer. Zero price elasticity of supply means. You got it. Your choice, the supply curve will be vertical, is right. Cross elasticity of demand is dash. Well reasoned. Negative for complementary of goods is the correct choice. This formula for sharp thinking. Price elasticity of demand is the right choice. How you will get all these quiz questions in PDF books format. Well picked. Contact Narayan Changda is the correct answer.